So going into Cataclysm, uh, and this is a theme for the expansions that are upcoming in my eyes. There are things I love in Cataclysm, and there's not really things I dislike, but it's different than Wrath of the Lich King. And at the time, I don't know what it is. And I never really even thought about it again until I played Classic Wrath of the Lich King. How many I would log in every day, even in Classic Wrath of the Lich King, to do my dailies. Like, Lich King had all these things that were enjoyable to do, depending on what your WoW kink is. Do you like dailies? We got dailies. Do you like farming? You can make gold. You know, do you like raiding? You can do this. Do you like 5-mans? You can do this. Do you want to be social? You can do this. I started noticing in Cataclysm, and I couldn't put my finger on it, that I just didn't have that same like desire. Like, I would look at it like, oh, I have nothing to do in WoW today. Cool, I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna go on a date. At the time, I chalked it up to like being older, moving on with my life, and me being burned out. Like at the beginning of Cataclysm, I saw nothing wrong with Blizzard. After playing Classic Wrath of the Lich King, I started to look at it another way. And it was the start of one of the things that is very odd about Blizzard, that I never really considered because I never had a speculation as to the motivation, but I think I do now. And that's that they either changed or removed things in Wrath of the Lich King that I loved, rather than taking something that was awesome and making it better or adding to it. So, like dailies, I, for whatever reason in Cata, I didn't do them. Um, you know. Now to defend Cata, there's things I love in Cata. Pet battling? Oh, that might be Panda. I love that in Panda. Cata Brawlers Guild, amazing. New quest zones, also how they revamped the quests, love it. During Cata, I leveled 14 level 85s. There were only 12 classes in the game. Um, but the 5-mans, like, looking back on it now, Blizzard did not take the strengths of Wrath of Lich King and improve them. They came up with new things. The focus on what's new in the next expansion, not what's like, hey, so you loved dailies in Wrath of Lich King? Well, this is what we're going to do to make the dailies as good of an experience, but even better. They're like, no man, fucking Deathwing destroys the world. Okay. And at the time, like didn't really understand why they're doing this, but I was also like, it's not. I'm like, they're trying to make the best game possible, So I just always thought they came with that mindset to it. Later in life, I would get into business and start understanding business a little more, and that changed my opinion on it. But that's what I didn't understand. And the tipping point of that in Cataclysm was the looking for raid release. This is an understated failure because Blizzard, you have to understand at the time, the majority of the people playing WoW, except for like the hardcore, just believed whatever Blizzard told them. Okay. And Blizzard used that to control the narrative of things. So, what I think people should do is think about the launch of LFR if it had happened today, with streaming, with YouTube. with people like Asmon or, like the big WoW S fans. Okay. Because here's the thing that happened with LFR. It was so fucking bad. The launch weekend was so bad. First of all, you could queue as 25 and master loot. So every big guild did that. Paragon, who had just. Oh, actually, that's what I'm going to switch my background to. 3 steps from hell, baby. This is Firelands, and this is Paragon defeating heroic Ragnaros in what was, up till this point, the most epic guild boss kill video of all time. They had dominated. They were the number 1 guild and no one else was close. And the reason why they did not get world first Dragon Soul is because they quit the game because they got banned for master looting in LFR. They were never dethroned. Blizzard dethroned them because of a mechanic Blizzard included in LFR. LFR groups, I did them all weekend on that launch weekend. We're not getting completed. I mean, they just look at the patch notes. They had to nerf LFR so much. It was an absolute shit show. Everyone hated it. It was a colossal failure. And I'm just waiting for Blizzard to come out and say, hey, sorry, we fucked up. That was not a good idea. And I thought it was Ghostcrawler, but I went back to find this later on and I could not find this quote for him in Blue Posts. So it might have been somebody else, but I know 100% I read this because it's burned into my brain. They came out and they said, well, we know that some people have been not so happy with LFR. No one was happy with LFR. Okay. And they go, but here's the thing. We're going to use analytics to gaslight you. So they said, well, it's a small percentage of the people. However, 94% of the entire WoW population participated in LFR this week, making it the most successful thing we've ever done in World of Warcraft. Fuck you. We're all World of Warcraft players. Of course, we're going to all take part in this. That does not mean it's good. Like, just because the majority of people, that's what WoW players are. Of course, we're going to do the new thing, especially if we can do it by ourselves. But the overwhelming majority thought it was terrible. But Blizzard's like, no, huge success. Huge success. Okay, put that into perspective of today. If 60,000 people are watching Asmon master fucking loot LFR, taking gear off idiots. Do you know what I would do in LFR? My thing is a holy priest is I would just see how many people I could kill with life grip. Just imagine streamers. But see, back then there was not that like global communication. So it's like, somebody who's not as a casual WoW player goes in and has a bad experience, and they're like, "Wow, that was terrible." But does everybody think it's terrible, or did I just get a bad group? And Blizzard is like, 94% of the player base went in there, and then so the average person's like, "Oh, well then LFR is good. I just had a bad experience." Fuck no, it wasn't. It was the wild, wild west, dude. Wild, wild west. And um, if it had launched today, where the world could see how terrible it was, it would have gone down as one of the biggest blunders in video game history. But it is still to this day considered Blizzard by one of the biggest successes of World of Warcraft because of creative use of analytics. So that's when I started being like, wait, what the fuck? Um, and Dragon Soul was shit. It was awful. And then we moved into Pandera. And again, there's things I love in Pandera, pet battles. But then, the questing that I loved in Cata, this direction they went in Cata, where like 1,000 Needles, where you get to do these quest lines, and it's fun and it's funny and they're well written. It's not there in Panda. Panda has its good things. Panda has rare spawns. That's fun, right? Panda has pet battles, which are fun. Panda still has Brawlers Guild, which is fun. But again, these things that were awesome about Cata are either removed or not improved upon. They're replaced with new good ideas. Good ideas. Like, the shit that, like, I don't even know. I can't even, like, get. It's so hard because it's not one thing. It's just a feel I get from playing the game. Like, daily quests, things like that, like, just totally done. They made professions easy in Cata, in Panda. Whereas one of the fun things in Cata is the fact that, like, professions gave experience for the first time, and you could actually, like, level and farm and make gold. Like, that to me was a cool mechanic of Cata. Not that they removed it in Panda, but in Panda they didn't remove it, but they didn't improve it from Cata. What they did is made it super easy to level professions, so then no one farmed. Like, so this is the theme I'm getting at here. And to bring the point around, the most colossal failure in my mind as a video game, if you would have asked me for a large portion of my life, I would have said Diablo 3. When Diablo 3 came out, it was a steaming pile of fucking shit. Terrible. Its launch weekend was terrible. The authentication servers couldn't handle the population. The real money auction house was terrible. Things to do at level 60 were terrible. Storyline was okay, but once you beat it, it was like awful. Okay. PR disaster. It's terrible. Blizzard kind of moves it to the back shelf. Well, on the back shelf, and not as the flagship video game of the company, they start making small improvements to Diablo 3. This is the big one, but first of all, they go, real money auction house out of here. And you're like, well, that's good. Because, fuck, seriously, for $3, you could have best in slot gear the moment you hit level 60. And then you're like, wait, why am I playing this game? Got rid of that. Then they introduced Paragon levels. And I'm like, wait, so I have to level again once I hit level 60? That sounds odd. But, I play it and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like the Paragon. Oh, cool, it goes to my alts. That's nice. I don't think it did at first, But this is my whole point about like building on strengths. So then they're like, we're going to do seasons. And I'm thinking, like, wait, I have to start over at level 0 every season? Diablo 3 is, I would consider, one of my top 10 favorite games of all time by where it was when it ended. I, every, I'm not saying every idea they had to improve it was a good one, but the good ones that they had, they improved on. Whereas I'm looking at World of Warcraft, and all they're doing is improving the bad ideas. Well, I shouldn't say bad. Improving the new ideas, and all of the old ideas, good or bad, are just kind of killed or put on a shelf to starve and die, along the white wayside. But I just honestly felt at the time that it was just like Blizzard, like the wrong people were doing video games, because again, I didn't understand it as well. And so, like, that's what I compare is like Diablo 3 to World of Warcraft. Like, you have Wrath of the Lich King. You're the top of the world. You just brought China in. You have the highest population you've ever had in WoW. And going into Cataclysm, I felt like Blizzard was like, look at our new ideas, while not strengthening the things that made Wrath of the Lich King great. At the time, I just thought it was an oversight. LFR is what changed my opinion on that, because I started to understand that Blizzard had become a company that reports to a board, right? And they're never going to be at the peak they are for Wrath of the Lich King. But you have these investors, and I'm sure, and this is just my speculation, the people working at Blizzard want to keep their jobs. But, hey, we just lost 2 million people from our player base, is a news article that would drive stock prices down, which would make investors mad. But you know what, like, drives stock prices up? Like a huge, huge public commotion about some awesome new thing, right? Like LFR. So, I could just see whatever scumbag is in front of the board at this point, and they're like, well, our numbers are going down, but, that's normal. But here's the thing. What we're going to do is we're going to release LFR. It's going to be a huge hit. It's going to turn things around. And, we're going to use it to keep casual players around. And from that, we're going to be able to make other money through, different creative ways the Blizzard has come up with to create money. And so then when LFR comes out and it flops, of course, they're going to be like, no, wait, that was a success. And especially back then they could do it. I mean, now you can't do it as much, which is why they've really blown up in my eyes the last couple of years. So that's like at the core of what I'm saying is that, and I understand the employees why they would be in this mindset, because they have families. This is a job, like, so you're going to, invest 10 million into developing LFR. The thing you've told the board that is going to, like, in the long run, make WoW as profitable as it was in Wrath of the Lich King, and it comes out, do you think you're going to come out and say, oh man, we fucked that up? No, you get fired. So, you're going to be creative. And, then it's like 94% of people presented in LFR. It was a good thing. We're going to keep buffing it. Oh, and by the way, did I tell you? Pandas. Pandas next expansion. And this is the other thing that I think that Blizzard exploits their casual, like, player base with, is they use BlizzCon to hype these new ideas, but that never live up to what they're presented as without consequence. And things that are working, that are great, like pet battles, that's not a new idea to give to the board, right? Like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to come up with a new idea about how, like, you get to play a panda? Or are you going to go to the board and be like, we had a lot of success in the quest zones and how well the quests were written for Cata. So we're going to do it again in Mist of Pandaria. And the board's going to be like, what? And then somebody comes in and they're like, fucking pandas, right? And then the board's going to be like, we like the panda guy. You go back to doing whatever you're like. Can you see, like, and it's not intentional, but it creates an environment that is profit driven and rewards coming up with a new idea, even if it doesn't come to fruition. Which, if you want to look at the list of shit Blizzard promised and expansions we're going to have and it didn't live up to, it's a long list. But the thing is, they're like, oh, sorry, we told you this was going to happen in the expansion and it didn't. But guess what? You can fucking be a dragon next expansion. And that culture has been the guiding path for the game. And I don't even think it can be fixed. And I think it's now affecting all games. I think that, and I don't want to get on my porch and like be like, back in the day, but I think that in the past, it was important to make a game profitable. But the main important thing was making the best game because that's what made it profitable. So, it rewarded the people being like, hey, pet battles seem to be an awesome thing. So let's keep what's awesome about them, but what can we do to make it better? That is like how WoW used to be, right? Like, wow, 40-man raids were great in Classic, but coordinating that many people sucks. It's hard on people's computers, and it means the fights have to be less complex. So going into Burning Crusade, we're going to make raids 25 man. We're going to take one of the favorite things about Classic, and we're going to improve upon it. This is something that people love. We're going to do that, right? Like, farming is a huge thing in Classic. They're like Burning Crusade. We're going to put in dailies so people can get drakes. They can farm money. Like, they're improving on existing ideas. And that just, I don't know that Blizzard can't go back to that. They have investors, right? Like, they still, I don't think, admit that LFR was one of the worst things that happened to the game. And not that they ever will, but like, that's my point, is however much money they spent on developing it up front, how much have they spent on it since then to keep up this lie that it's like a good thing? So they're taking this money from potential like other things that could be awesome, right? And that's my issue with Blizzard. And I'm not even going to get into, except for touching on it just quickly, the culture that we found out was going on at Blizzard. Terrible. Which, by the way, do you know that during Classic WoW, one of my favorite things to talk about in trade chat was the Cosby room? The room at BlizzCon where these predators took women. And I'm not saying that sexual assaults happened, but they had a fucking poster of Bill Cosby on the wall after the goddamn rape allegations. And it was an inside joke, a rape joke. And do you know that most people that play WoW don't believe me when I tell them that? Because the player base that still remains in retail live in this like gaslit reality of Blizzard. Like they don't even know. People would say, "No way, that didn't happen." I'm like, "Google it." Google it. Then they whisper me and be like, "What the fuck?" But I'm outside of the bubble now. Like that's what I look at. Like you know, um and it's sad. And so that's my thing with Cata, like, and maybe Mop. We'll see. There's some things I like to. I really like pet battles, but Wrath of the Lich King. I didn't raid ICC because I just have a lot of emotional stuff tied to it. I spent a lot of time of my life there. I have memories. One of my good friends that raided ICC with me passed away. Being in there reminds me of her. Um, but the rest of Wrath of the Lich King I committed to. Burning Crusade I committed to. Classic WoW I committed to. From this point on, and that's only Cataclysm and Mop, by the way, because Warlords, fuck that. I ask every year on the anniversary of me buying Warlords, I request a refund from Blizzard for Warlords, telling them this is the worst thing I've ever bought in my life. I deserve a refund. But like how I'm going to approach Cataclysm is I'm just going to do the things that I find enjoyable. So I'm going to level, I'm going to quest, I'm going to, level with professions. Uh, if I'm in position in a guild, I will do Firelands. I'm not fucking touching Dragon Soul. Um, I'm a rogue main. I got my legendary daggers back in the day. I don't need them now. Uh, and so, I'm not committing to it like I did Wrath of the Lich King. I'm not. Once I'm done with the things that I enjoy, I'm gonna quit. I'm not gonna keep on that content. That said, leveling's like my favorite thing, and Cataclysm is my favorite expansion to level in. So I'm excited about that. Um, and I guess I'll go from there. So Cataclysm it is. Fuck LFR. And thanks to anybody that watched. I something I've been wanting to say because it bums me out. And also the most egregious thing Blizzard has ever done is the culture that they had at Blizzard. They had a Cosby room. Google it. Do not let them off the hook for this stuff. They have somehow walked almost scot free away from this stuff. And I don't play retail anymore, so I tell people I don't really have the right to have an opinion on it. But kind of disappointed in the player base for not standing up to Blizzard about that whole situation. So anyway, I have a new job because I'm back in school. I have a new apartment too. It's awesome. So I think what my plan is going to be moving forward is I'm going to raid when I get off work. I'm going to raid I think 8 to 12 every day. Or not raid, stream. And I'm going to try to make a semi-consistent schedule. So like Monday through Friday, ideally 8 to 12. I'm going to do cattle leveling. The reason I was going to do it today in Premiere, my first stream back in a while with Cata. But actually, I don't know why I've disabled it 15 times, but my authenticator's back on my account and they have the wrong phone number. So I had to put in a ticket to be able to access my WoW account, and they told me 24 hours. So I decided to make this video instead. Um, so I'm also going to be streaming Teamfight Tactics when I get bored of WoW, because I play Teamfight Tactics every season of Gold, and there's a new season. But I haven't played yet, so it's probably going to take me 20 games to figure out uh, you know, Riot games are all about finding out how to what comps I need to climb in solo queue, which is even separate from what are the best comps. And I didn't want my first stream back of me losing every TFT game. Well, I figure it out. Um, but my plan is tomorrow is to start leveling in Cataclysm, I think I'm going to do warrior first, not rogue. I haven't decided on faction. Um, I've never played a worgen, uh, so I want to do that. But for me, melee animations are where it's at. And in Cata, I want to level a rogue and a warrior. So if I don't even remember or have looked up what their attack animations are, um, but if they're fairly decent and don't drive me insane, then I will probably start Alliance with my first tune. It'll either be, I don't even know if Worgens can be warriors, but if they can, I'm going to do warrior first and I'll be Worgen warrior. If their attack animations are shit, I will be an undead warrior. Because if I remember right in Cata, undead warriors are actually not something to be laughed at. Because I don't remember, I haven't read anything, but they changed racials, and I remember that Cat is when you started seeing undead warriors, female warriors. That's my favorite melee attack animation is undead female. So I'll go that, and then for my rogue, if I do my rogue alliance, I will only play human unless Worgen has good racials, which I haven't looked up because I've never played them, and good attack animations. And I'll go from there, and then mix in TFT. I'm gonna be using my webcam and streaming a lot. But also, I'm just going to do that for like the first hour or two of the stream. I'm going to go through some of the Flying Buttress again. I don't know if uh, everybody knows that it's a guy who reads the World of Warcraft books like an audiobook, but he has his own artistic and interpretation of them. And they're fucking hilarious. And I think they're like the best content for me. They're my favorite content to live it level to because they're all like 5 hours long. They're all great stories, and how he tells them is just fucking epic. Um, I'm gonna do Medivh in Kara. I forget the name of that one. Because that one's funny when he meets Corona and stuff. It's great. Flying Buttress, go. And then the other one I've only listened to once because I wanted to save it for Kata. I'm gonna do when they all go. So the best part of those two books, this is the Second War, which is Flying Buttress, the Second War, the most important probably book ever to WoW lore, is amazing because of the four main characters, which are, is it Medivh? It's Medivh, right? I always get him mixed up with, yeah. Anyway, whoever the good mage was, not the bad one. Um, it's Medivh. It's, oh god, I'm bad at names. Anyways, it's dwarf, human paladin, Sylvanas' sister, and the mage that was what's his name's apprentice. They're so funny together. Wildhammer, Kurgan Wildhammer, um, and then the two, the Sylvanas' sister that was lost in Outland. Anyways, it's a story of when they get lost in Outland, and it is hilarious. And those four characters with how the Flying Buttress tells them, and in that book, it is so epic. And so I'm going to start with that, leveling in WoW. So I'm just going to probably do webcam like for the first little bit and then transition into those. And I probably won't be talking as much. I'll watch chat and just listen to those and get some leveling done. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.